So here we go again, day 7, and we are ready to do a new, to kind of start wrapping up our first draft. So we're going to basically be going through the application, through the game. Um, that's the outline that we've created with some fairly detailed how that's going to work, and then if not during this particular set, when we do it again this afternoon, I will pull out my handy dandy notebook, a la Blue's Clues. Is it handy dandy notebook? Yeah, I think so. And we'll start drawing and start making up some cards, what they're going to look like, and then hopefully, maybe if I can, I'll get to some publisher slash Excel interactions where we can start creating some actual visual mock-ups of cards that are going to get used through this application. So yeah, we'll be making some good progress hopefully during the next couple of sessions, and start seeing some things start to take shape. So yeah, this ought to be good. So first, we'll go through here. I'm gonna do another quick little review of what we've done so far. First day, we of course picked out. Cause I don't know what anybody's whoever's watching these, where you're starting and looking at this. But first day, we did our. I don't know, we came up with the idea for what we were going to do. Came down to Attack on Titan and Pokemon, two things that are kind of fairly fresh in my mind and I don't think are well served in the market. And plus, they are licensed properties, which I don't foresee me being able to get. So I thought if we have a game that's well designed and focused strongly on those items, retheming it would be challenging, but not impossible. We can talk about retheming later if it's something that I like enough to try to make into a game that I can actually produce. However, I'm purposely doing something I cannot produce just so that we can do this exercise in getting a game designed, short of selling it to Pokemon and getting them to do it. They own the rights to all board game designs, so I don't really think my odds are too good. I don't have the pockets necessary to sell a game to, or to buy a license, so I won't be able to do that myself. So unfortunately, we don't have that option. So I picked Pokemon because mainly because I actually applied for a job at Pokemon USA. They had a game designer position open, and I don't know yet if they filled that. Last I saw, they didn't, but that was a couple weeks ago. And so I thought, well, I don't know if they're still looking, and it doesn't matter. I just wanted to see what would I do if they hired me as a game designer. I think it'd be kind of cool to be able to actually have a game in mind. So I started mulling thoughts over in my head and said, yeah, let's go with that. Attack on Titans, an anime that I've been watching. There's a couple of games already out there for it, just as there is with Pokemon. Obviously TCG Pokemon, but this is not a TCG. This is a board game or a tabletop game that you would be able to play with. But we are looking into keeping the cards in it, or being able to use TCG cards in it as a possibility. It's not a lock. Don't know yet if it's going to work. But right now we're just designing the game to work without those, with those in our mind, so that I can potentially look into that later. After we came up with the decision of what I was going to do, I came up with some goals for the game, which was, kind of game time, who's our target audience. I think it could be anybody. That's my idea, 8 to adult. I want adults to be able to play this game and enjoy the game just like they might Pokemon Go. Because I know a lot of the people who play Pokemon Go are actually not children. That's the only way they can get to 1 million. I don't think you'd have 1 million children with their own phones playing Pokemon Go. So I think it's more likely the majority of the players are adults, and I know a lot of them. I've got pretty far myself, and I have friends that are just as old as I am who got really far in Pokemon Go. So it was popular, and there's definitely a market for people to enjoy a game with Pokemon as the theme that are not children. So I want to make sure that this game can appeal to those sorts of board gamers. Now, I'm not saying that's all the Pokemon Go people, because I don't know that they're board gamers. So that may or may not be a thing. Or may not be a lot the direct crossover, but there will definitely be some involved. So here's the thinking after that. We went through and did in subsequent sessions, went through and did some outlining. What do we want the game to do? You know, we're going to have some exploring in there. We're going to have gyms. We'll, of course, have Pokemon battles. We're going to have some trainers. We're going to have random Pokemon catching. You'll have some shops and stores, a lot of video games to be able to buy stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what our overall outline did. As we got past that, we said, okay, well, we've kind of got the idea of what our game is going to have, and then we're going to say, okay, now let's go a little bit deeper into that. So following sessions after that, we kind of got into the weeds and said, okay, how is that going to look? What is a gym functionality going to entail? What is exploring going to entail? What is what are the things we want? We also had to come up with along the way, what are some victory conditions? What do we expect? How's it going to be beat or won? Are you're gonna have to meet certain criteria along the way to beat this to win the game. And then I put some of the items on our notes here. You'll see they have question marks as we're going down the list. These are items that we have not locked on, but there's something we can think of. Like if we have expansions for regions, maybe there's a campaign game where you can build your Pokemon, get stronger and stronger and stronger, even beyond a normal session, and work towards beating all the regions that you might own as expansions. Because I think we'll probably just do one region in the base game. Always got to think ahead. Always got to think about potential for expansions. Board games, people can like a board game and maybe they can keep playing the board game, but oftentimes for a game to have, well, you got to think about money, right? I mean, if you're making a game and you're putting it out there, if it's popular, you got to be ready to feed those people who want more. They want more out of it. So we got to start thinking of how would you do that? How would you monetize additional things? And I'm saying, there's always a money grab. They always call these expansions money grabs. Why wasn't it in the base game? Well, for one, if you can't put everything in the base game because base game would be really expensive. Two, you want to be able to, make it simple enough. I mean, if you put everything into it all at once, then it's going to be too complicated. You're going to put these new regions might introduce new abilities, new skills, things that you've got to play test, and you don't want to overcomplicate that first session. You want to be able to make the game good. So these are things that we're looking at for the future, or even we haven't locked on for even the current version. But these are some of the multiple of the win conditions. But keep in mind, as you can see, they don't actually identify how many of each of these things. That's something we can work out during playtesting. We might have to decide, okay, we want these to be, what we'll do is we'll pick a couple of things. So you have to win by this or win by that. And we're going to try to have this game have multiple win conditions so that if one person's going after one thing, someone else can go after the other thing. It also kind of makes it so you're not necessarily just punching it out all the way up to the one thing. You can go off in different directions, and you may not realize that somebody else that's playing, if you're not paying attention, might be closing in on their win conditions. We'll have to have ways to track that, or at least view it. So those are things that we'll work on as we get closer to that part of the game. But these are what our win conditions will be, and in some form or fashion, numbers of them. Okay, so then as we got past all of that, we kind of had some details of what they look like, what they would entail, and then we started coming up with mechanics. So over the last few days, we've been kind of hacking out the mechanics of the game. How is this game going to render those functionalities that we've come up with for rules and how they're going to work? So that's where things kind of start getting a little bit more interesting, right? So we're going to have our game actually start taking shape right now, still in our head and on paper, but so we don't have anything visual to show off, but we do have ideas and the things in place. So yesterday, one of the last things we were working on is trying to decide between tiles and cards. And in the end, I decided on both. So we're going to have tiles that have actual multiple spaces on each one. So you won't put down one and it's a space and you go into it, one in space, and you just have tiles all over the place. That I felt was too, for one, too many pieces on the board. Two, it's been done. So it's, you want your game to be a little bit different, you know. Three, I didn't really want to do the thing where you had to try to keep sections together, right? So if you only have one space of forest, it doesn't really make sense in the adventuring state, right? You're going to step into a forest and you flip over, the next thing's an ocean and the next thing's a mountain region and the next thing, and then you're a forest again. That I didn't want to do that, and I want every space you go into to be a region, because you're going to be trying to catch certain types of Pokemon that might be associated to that particular area type. And so ultimately what I decided to do is, okay, we're going to have octagonal tiles with space to put players on, but there will be 8 spots, one for each side, on that tile. And when you flip over a tile, it is an entire self-contained area. So there could be 8 forest tiles on there. Maybe we could have, a mix or something where it's half and half or something. But right now the idea is that half of it will be a path if you go one way, and the other half will be just going through the brush, going through the rough spaces. And the idea is that the path direction will be more likely when you hit encounters. The encounter cards that you flip when you step into one of these spaces, it will say, if you're on the path, this is what you encountered. It could be a trainer, could be a Pokemon, but less likely for Pokemon, more likely for trainers. You could have ran into an item, maybe not, maybe. You could run into a random NPC. So that's what your path would be. But if you go off the path, you're more likely to run into things. You might find items, or you might find Pokemon encounters. More likely to find them there. So although they can be found in the opposite zone, it's less likely. So you might only have a few cards that have something like that, but yet you go over to the other side and you have more chance. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I want to fight some trainers. I want to catch the Pokemon. You're gonna have to catch Pokemon. The whole game is about doing that. So there'll be that, but there might be times when you might go later and say, okay, I need to get some trainers. Now that I've got my Pokemon, you're gonna go back through these tiles and you'll go through the path. So you'll be revisiting areas. Now, only certain areas on each tile will be allowed to be attached to another tile. So when you flip another tile, it'll be when you go into those areas that can do that. And then you flip a tile and attach it. And it could be a new area. It could be another of the same type area. It just depends on what you flip. Some of those tiles may have restrictions on them. So if you're next to a town or a gym, you can't put one with a certain type of tile next to, maybe it's got certain markings for landmarks or whatever. The encounter cards may also tell you what's going to be their landmark, but it'll have a different condition: gym, traveling merchant, special locations, whatever. So anyway, so this is how we're going to do that. We're going to have tiles for basic movement. We're hopefully not going to have too many. The idea is that you can go through a region, maybe there's only 20 tiles or 15 tiles, and you're just going to put them out as you go, and all the players can be moving around. The idea originally was that everybody would travel together, but you may have different goals. And so I decided everybody can travel together, but you're going to have your own tokens. So that'll be represented by individual players. And one person might want to go the trail, one person might go the path, and you might meet around at the next spot and move on to the next thing. It could be that you're both going into the same spots, because every time you go into a space, you and your players, you flip a card. You'll flip an encounter card, and it'll be something for you. It'll be your encounter, because in Pokemon, as far as most of the things I've ever known, one person encounters a Pokemon and he fights the Pokemon. It's not like one person encounters a Pokemon and then 3 people get to attack him. It's just not a Pokemon rule. It's not a normal. I don't know what the term would be, but it's just not a normal functionality of most Pokemon games or even the cartoons. It seems like, they're all traveling together, but something attacks and Ash throws his Pokemon out there to go fight or whatever. So They might take turns. If one loses, the other one might take a shot, but we're not doing that. We're going to have each person has their own encounter. So you might be traveling through the woods and both of you see a Pikachu, or one of you sees a Pikachu, one of you sees an electric. Yeah, electric. So, okay. So that's for my, that's where we got with our, our review for previous times. It's kind of tricky to do a quick review, right? So the more we do, the more stuff we get in there, the more succinct each item's description's got to be in order for us to get on to the next step of design. And so you can come in at any point, check out one of these videos. And kind of get an idea where we're at, and decide if you want to go back and look. Because got to say, I'm not an entertainer. I'm not I'm not going to be. It's going to sound a lot the same. I'm going to be talking. You'll be kind of going through it. But if you weren't there with me, you can't put any. You can put some chat and stuff in there, but it's like, you can, what can I do? I can only respond to you post haste, and it'd be better to respond to the latest one because that's the one I'm working on. And if you have questions or want suggestions for me to put into the game or whatever, suggesting something on the first one when I'm five things in, just might be harder to find. So I'm not talking about stream quality or issues with the video or that kind of thing. That can be per video because I'm sure that varies a lot per video. I probably have a lot of streaming issues. I'm hoping they're getting better as I keep tweaking this and that, and but we'll see. I'm learning. This is all new to me, and then of course it's time. Everybody's got their own non-streaming life that they got to do. So I'm squeezing all this stuff in while I'm currently unemployed. So I'll be doing that and then if I get a job, it's going to be even less for the side stuff, and then I'll definitely be down to one stream a day. I won't be able to do 2 a days like I'm doing right now. I'm only doing 2 a days too because I get so wrapped up in it. It's like, I don't feel like I got enough done. Let's do a second one later today, and I'll do that today too. I don't know yet, about the next couple of days. It's always a play it by ear for a second, but the plan is I'll do a .2 for today as well. It'll be pretty much the same goal of the day, where I will hash stuff out. So let's start from the bottom, mainly because I think I got to around here yesterday while I was wrapping up details on how these are going to function. One of the things that happens when you create your outline and you put little details in, you might go down to these bottom sections and you find, I already talked about this. You could delete stuff. You'll be able to delete and clear up, and that's kind of what I'm talking about when you're pulling the weeds or getting into the weeds. You're not only putting your details in and setting it up, but you're also going, this piece needs to go and that piece needs to go, and you're just kind of cleaning things up so that when it's time to start writing rules by chance, because right now this is kind of a rules outline. That's what this is going to be. And although it's set up, it says brainstorm, it's because this is the first step. Next step is a mock-up. Next step after that will be rules refinement, maybe a play test, that kind of thing. So prototyping, we have quite a few phases to go, but the mock-up is really just paper, right? So we're not actually going to have anything out there. But it'll give us an idea of what we do want. And then we start doing a prototype based on our mock-up. And then we can start having things set up where we know we're doing cards. So we'll start intertwining our card, features into an actual card display so we can print some up. And the more cards we have, the better, because then we can kind of play with what we're going to keep and throw away. So anyway, here we go. So we've got, let's see, that's what we got. We got rules for the game. So all of the stuff that we've been doing before is rules for the game, right? So I created this, but this is just, when I was going down, I was like, we got to write down this, and I got to write down that, and I got to find a place to put this. And at the time, I may not have had it. So as I started hacking up and setting up all of the displays of all of the details of each thing, because like we have this mechanics, and then we have this mechanics up here. This mechanics is actually stating truly what it's going to do. These mechanics, I believe, down here are actually specifically on how that item's going to work. So, flipping cards, tiles. So this is exploring finding Pokemon. Well, we've already spoke about what we're going to do. So some of this stuff is redundant, or maybe the parts that aren't will combine and shift it up to the top, because we want everything to kind of start making sense in the order that it's going to be. It'll simplify our list, and it'll also make it easier for us to follow when we're going, oh yeah, I forgot about this detail because I stuck it down here. Ultimately, you want as you're cleaning this up, you want your rules to all start to become easy to read, easy to gel. At first, it's going to be kind of a mess of just ideas, but eventually it's got to start taking shape into a rule book that can be read by, average Joe. And average Joe or Julie will want to be able to look stuff up. It's like, okay, we started the game, and what's the first thing I do? First thing I do is go to a shop and buy some Pokeballs. Maybe you start with some money. You can go buy some stuff. Or maybe not. Maybe you just want to hit the road. So things that we have to start thinking about is, how do you start? What's the setup? I don't think I even have a basic setup on here yet. Haven't gotten to that. We will want to get that going, and maybe I should put in at least a section for it, game setup. And so you will have starting layout and player components. So we have starting layout, player components. We'll have, let's see, what else might we have? Starting layout, player components. Say deck prep, and actually let's call this player setup. Starting layout, player setup, deck prep. So yeah, we'll have those, and we can lay out what those are exactly. Like player setup, I think for sure each player will get a starting Pokemon. Which starting Pokemon? Maybe the game will just have a set of starting Pokemon that you can start with. So we'll have one basic card that everybody can pick from. Somebody can get Pikachu, Bulbasaur, whatever. They'll get their set of cards. That'll be what they get to start with, and then maybe they start with a few Pokeballs. Start with let's say a number of Pokeballs, because we don't know what the right amount is, but that'll be something. Of course, they will have a Pokédex sheet, and they will write their name on it. Right name. So I'm just coming up with this because this is what came to mind. We need to have a game set up, something that they can do. Starting layout is, where to place decks and tiles, deck prep. Deck prep is like if they require specific setup, if specific cards per deck are required. Now, I want to avoid this. I don't want this to be a game where every time you open it up, you've got to I want to be able to put away all the decks and say, okay, these are all what's left of the decks. If you're doing a campaign, other cards will be in the players' decks. But if you're doing a regular play, you should be able to put away the different type of Pokemon decks, the different type of items, whatever. All that stuff should be one deck, or individual decks that are just separate. And when you pull them out to play, you just set them on the table. That's my goal. I don't want to have people being forced to set up. I want setup to be, let's open this up, put it on the table, and go. Let's avoid overcomplicating the setup, if possible. Obviously, there's times like expansions that could kind of make things funky. One of the things we might have to have rules for how expansions interact. Perhaps the cards for expansions are separate. When you're in a region, we actually have to set up that region's Pokemon slash tiles. You put them off to the side, but if you go in, you suddenly start using those tiles. It could make the table busier with a lot more stuff going on, but that might also keep it clean and easy to play. It just gives a lot of stuff on the table, and you can't touch that stuff if you're not in that region. But it does help keep it clean and easy to put away. So if you're doing a campaign, that's why it's a campaign would say deal with one region at a time, and then you go to the next region the next time you play. But if for some reason, maybe once the region boss is beat, everybody goes to the next region. And then once that region boss is beat, everybody goes to the next region. And you can randomize them, come out of them different orders, and they could have different region bosses. But to randomize the campaigns a little bit. But ultimately, maybe you only deal with one region per session, just because it's too hard to play through it. Now, that's my idea. That's my current back of my mind setup for what a campaign would look like. And I think a region should be one session. So that's my plan. Okay, so we have game set up. This is a very rough outline because obviously there's going to be a lot more. Where do you go with how many cards are out there? How many decks are you going to put out there? We'll have to have a picture and what it looks like. Maybe that can be a little bit in our mock-up. So we'll be doing this a little bit just during the mock-up phase where we start looking at what it's going to look like on the table. And I will draw out for you, my audience, what I'm thinking and how that's going to look. And if you happen to be watching while I'm doing the streaming, feel free to offer up suggestions. You can offer up suggestions even post-streaming, because none of this is hard fixed until I'm actually out there, and it's a little bit like pre playtesting, right? Except we're mentally playtesting right now. So you get other people involved, and you're more likely to come out more solid. It's a brain trust, a brainstorming session, and other people can get in here. And you're just seeing how my brain is flying all over the place, doing all these different, coming up and, 1 second, I got to write this down. And 1 second, I'm dead. So I'm doing all these different bits and pieces. And so I can bounce around a lot, especially during the initial design phase. And eventually you start focusing on one thing at a time. So we'll go back down here, see where we were. See, I didn't even get very far on here. So this is rules for the game. Let's see if we've already covered these items. Pokemon Center, card, or action. These are things you can do in the Pokemon Center. So I'm actually going to I'm going to put some spaces down here and make rules for the game. I'm going to kind of separate it out here just because I want it to be kind of, how would it look in the rules? Maybe I have to pull this out while we go back through. Let's see, what have we already covered? Turns, actions, explore cards. So during your turn, you'll move your piece. So first thing is you'll move your player token, or how about move player token. Each player moves their player token to next space. Or to an adjacent adjacent space, and then they will each player draws. Notice how I'm doing this. I'm writing this as though everything's going to be asynchronous. I don't know how well that's going to work, but if we can do asynchronous, many players can play this together. They can just be all over the board and building their Pokemon and doing all these different things. And when you're with somebody or doing the same things, you can play in tournaments together. Maybe you'll fight the person who's going to that same place. That's why I'm trying to build in. My goal is to build in delays in tournaments at the gyms. This way, when you sign up, it activates a tournament coming, and other players have a number of turns to get there to also be in that tournament and potentially play against you. Now, the tournaments are also going to be there's going to be trainers there. So if no one's there to fight against you, you fight against random trainers, and kind of be like, and trainers specifically designed or set up for the gym. So maybe you might run into any trainer anywhere, but depending on where you meet them, they will be a different type of trainer. So we may even have to put identifiers, maybe like the ones that are, maybe you meet a trainer out in the wild. Well, he's out there all the time now. That's him. That's what he is. He's an out in the wild trainer. Somebody wants to fight him, they'll go find him and fight him because he'll be in that spot, just like in the game world, the PC world. PC player, not the PC world, the video game world, which I guess could be PC. I don't know. So you'll go out, you'll say, hey, I know there's a trainer over in the forest in that area. You can go back there. So we'll have a token. Maybe it's identifies a particular trainer out in the world that you can go back and fight, maybe to practice your Pokemon. I don't know if you necessarily do it just to get trainers, but you're going to have to, or to get items, because I think trainers are going to give random items, and if you do that, you won't be able to necessarily have any particular item to get, but you might be able to get, you'll get experience for fighting him, because you're trying to beat, maybe being as defeating trainers is one of the victory conditions. You might actually have to go back and fight those Pokemon or those trainers. You might be all the way over in this area, now you have to walk all the way over to go fight that trainer, but he's over there, and you'll know because some Joe already hit that spot, and Mike is made one up over there, and they've all hit 2 or 3 trainers, and now there's a whole patch of them in that area. I need to go over there and go fight all those guys so I can get my victory conditions for trainers. So that's kind of what your goal will be. You'll have those marked out there so you can do that. There maybe it'll be alive. If it's too easy to get them, you'll have to move around to them and get them. Maybe you're too far away, but 3 trainers appeared over there, and you still need to build your Pokemon up to go fight them. But you'll randomly capture Pokemon and move out in that direction, because they could be doing the path routes and you're doing the woodsy routes, and you're not getting as many trainers because you're going after Pokemon. And they have to go get Pokemon, so they could come back around and try to do that. But ideally, certain Pokemon are only going to be available if you go into other regions, so that'll force players to kind of hit the whole board in some way, because there may not be a mountain region anywhere near you. The mountain area, in that, I don't want to say region because it's the whole game is the region area. Mountain areas may be on the other side of the board, so they're going to have to go over there to get them. There may not be very many of them, so we're going to try to have it that way. So people have to move around, but I don't want to make it necessarily difficult to get what you need in the game. I don't want it to be one of those, I have to go all the way over there and I have to get the perfect dice roll to land in these area. There's no perfect dice roll. Just go over there, and if you want, you can walk around in the woods just randomly, kind of like you would in the TCG, right? That a particular Pokemon has a chance of appearing in that zone on the Game Boy or the Switch or whatever. And what do? You just go walk around in that area until it pops up. Oh, wrong guy. Beat him up. Go to the next guy. And you just keep going around and around. So you might do that in the game, where you'll be trying to get certain things to come up, and maybe they only come up with certain conditions are met. You have to catch X grass Pokemon before a legendary even has a chance to come up, and if he does come up and you don't have the X Pokemon, he runs away, and you have to go back and get him. So, and then of course beating them, you may have to get stronger. You may find the legendary. It's like, I found the legendary. There's only one of them, and then you find out that your Pokemon aren't strong enough. They're going to get their lunch. So that's kind of my this is all the stuff I'm visualizing. I don't know how much I've got written down, but that's the long-term goal, right? I mean, that's going to be coming up in the deck makeup of what the Pokemon are, and so we'll be kind of going through there, setting up how they're going to be able to come in and play the game. So so we'll go back to our turn actions. Each player moves their player token to an adjacent space. Each player draws exploration cards. And things that you can have on there. Let's say, let's not even show this. Stay on board with any quest item they move. All players can complete. So I'm actually going to say read what did I do? Oh, I see what I did. I need to go like this. I don't want to refer, oh my gosh, refer to encounter description. Man, I do not know how to description. There's not even an R in there. Description. Oh gosh, description. Refer to encounter description, or how about rules? And then we're going to go up here to encounter, because one of the things I'm constantly doing searches now because I don't know where I wrote stuff. Encounter. Okay, so this is game mechanics, encounter, tile features. That's what the encounter card will have on it. Do I have another version of encounter? Oh, I don't have it on there. Oh, it's just highlighted everywhere. All right, so we got player encounter. How many more we got? I've got one here. Pokemon encounter, Pokemon again, experience variable encounter. Exploring encounter, random encounters, identifying an encounter type on encounter card. See, this is another thing that may be kind of duplication. Oh, look at that. I got a whole section right here to game mechanics. All right, potential encounters. So, yeah, I've got some definite duplication. In fact, I'm going to take this entire section just because, and I'm taking it out of here. I'm not deleting it, just going to move it. And then I can, if I bring it close to my my other encounter stuff, which is this up here, encounter card. This is what the card entails, not how you deal with them, right? So this is kind of this is our game mechanics, which isn't necessarily going to be a rule in the game. So this is a design section. Not for rules. Because this stuff's going to all come out in the card itself. The rules will identify the stuff that's on here, but not what this is. So let's see, player encounter. This is still mechanics. Let's take this down. All right. So I think it's going to have to be in our rules section. So we have referred to encounter rules. We don't actually have an encounter rules. So what this is going to be is, let's see. Each player moves. Each player draws exploration cards. Let's see. Do the action identified on card for the area and space you are in. And do the actions identified on the card corresponding to the area and space you are in. Trainers, if trainer card, trainer. This is actually a trainer, not a trainer like TCG where you have, it says trainer across the top. This is actually one of the other guy, the NPC versions of yourself. If trainer card is placed, set next to board with token identifier. So we're going to have a token identifier. Let's token identifier on space and on card. Let's see, matching token on space and on card. So this will keep that trainer always in that space, and he will be there for all other players to correspond to. So let's go up here. We have game setup. And do we want to put components under game setup? Sure, we'll do that. Game components. Didn't I already do a game components though? Let's see. I may have to move that up here. Components. Nope. Gosh, I thought I did. See, I know I have something like it. But in here will be obviously decks for each type of Pokemon. And then we have, we're going to have item deck maybe? A trainer deck. And we will have obviously okay, so ultimately I think we just need to come up with the solution for all the stuff that's going to be on here. So game components also require the tiles, it's the area tiles, and encounter cards, and Pokédex sheet, player sheets. We will have to have trainer token, let's see, sets of 2 for each found out in the wild. Or out in the, let's see, out in the world. Are they in the wild? Let's see, Pokédex, player sheets, trainer tokens. What else do we have? We have lots of cards. That's going to be, oh, starting Pokemon. Starting Pokemon, Pokemon cards. And tiles. Maybe we have a trainer / NPC tokens. So these can actually be things that aren't trainers. It could be like a shop or a traveling merchant or something like that. And shops have NPCs in them, but I think it's the same, you know. It's the same idea. He'll have an NPC in the shop, so he'll be a shop NPC. And those could maybe only show up in certain areas, but we'll have those kind of things that can pop up in the world. And you'll have them marked, and you'll say, oh, I need to go visit that guy because he's selling X and Y. And so if they're in the town, you obviously go to town. So starting Pokemon cards, starting Pokemon. Let's see, we have trainers. I think we, oh yeah, we have to have player tokens or meeples or whatever / meeples, right? What else do we have on here? We have to have some kind of gym markers. Gym markers. And what else? What else? What else? What else? I'm sure we have other things, but I think this kind of calls out what our components are going to be, and these are the things we're going to have to mock up as we start sitting down and actually deciding what's going to be part of our game layout. Okay. So did I ever actually put my encounter stuff down? It's still sitting in my copy, I hope. So let's go back down here, and I was kind of just rewriting it, but I'm going to throw it back down before I lose it. Yep, there it is. Every region card has encounter. So we don't. So I don't need to do these. This is extra junk. Obviously, you can capture a Pokemon out in the wild, but that's how you deal with that encounter. So that's not really a thing. Pokemon Center, also games. Shuffle your cards back into your deck. Maybe just. Where was I? Oh, turn actions. Each player moves their player token to an adjacent space. Each player draws exploration cards. Do the actions identified. If trainer let's say trainer slash NPC. There we go. We'll have a marker for it. If gym place marker for it to keep track of it, because you can only have, if you have a forest gym, you're not going to have forest gyms in every forest tile. You can only get one forest gym. So if you want to say, that's where the forest gym is, I have to walk back over to that forest. I may be in a forest, but I'm in the wrong one. So I'll have to go back to that one. Because there will only be one forest gym, one mountain gym, one whatever kind of gym. And then there may even be a region gym. The region gym is where the final game event can happen. Maybe it doesn't come out until all of the area gyms have come up. Maybe that might be good. So it's now an option for the maybe it's the first thing that comes up once all the area or the first gym requirement that's not met after all the gyms are out will be the region gym. So I think that's good. Let's do that. If gym place, not player, place marker for it. If all area gyms are already out, then place region gym marker in this location. You cannot, let's see, duplicate. How about we make a rule for, let's say, only one gym can be placed per area tile. Only one gym can be placed in any placed on any one area tile. Okay, only one gym can be placed on any one area tile. So that's going to help us to get to the point where we're now at where we're able to say, okay, each tile, you're going to have to actually move to a different tile. You won't be able to just hit multiple gyms, or going around it. Of course, you wouldn't. It would only be a forest and a region gym, but I think you actually have to go to a different forest tile to get to find the region tile show up there. So if you want to find the region tile, you have to go to a tile that doesn't have any gyms on it yet and try to locate it. And of course, it has to be one that's already out. So all the other ones already have to be out. So you're all trying to find all the other area gyms before. So one player might take a little bit longer, maybe, but if you're playing one player, it's still just you. You don't have to deal with everybody else. So I think the idea is that you can play one player. Why not? I mean, you're still just trying to meet the goal of the game and try to get strong enough to beat it. See how fast you can do it. But I think ultimately this game, if we allow for adjacency and it actually works, adjacent movement or asynchronous movement, it shouldn't change too much in time. Tournaments might delay things a little bit because it kind of slows things down while you do the little tournament runs. But I'm hoping that they don't take too long. Our tournaments are going to be a little bit, hopefully, quite a bit more streamlined than actually like a TCG where you're going up against, these complicated decks. There's only so much you can do. You fight the Pokemon, you take turns hitting the Pokemon, but you're going to have a limited amount of stuff. Plus, you will be running alongside your other players, unless a player is playing you, in which case you're both kind of hitting at each other, but it's going to run the same. That's my goal. I haven't actually come up with the battle rules, so maybe it's not going to go that way. That's still kind of a question mark, but we're getting there. We're getting close. Battle rules will be identified. Maybe once we have some cards, we can set them down and we can say, okay, how's this going to work? We know what's on these guys. We know Pokemon is generally about just taking turns smacking each other. but you don't have, you do draw up. Remember, Pokemon in this game each have their own deck. So if you're playing with a weaker Pokemon, you're not going to have a 60 card deck to keep building off of. And you're just going to go at it with that one Pokemon until one of you either runs away or one of you hits, and then you got to go to another Pokemon who's going to have, and you're just like any other, you're going to be, Pokemon are going to be injured, they're going to run out of cards. It's going to go a lot faster. Trust me. You don't have as many options, and you won't be drawing up all these complicated deck combos to get through the game. So I think we're good. I think we will be once we get to that point of the game. I'm visualizing simpler battles, but they can be interesting. We'll put stuff in there to make sure that they have a little bit of flavor to them. If you place marker, only one gem can be placed on any one area tile. I think we can have multiple NPCs in there. Let's see here. But how about only... Let's see. I'm trying to see if we want to have a limitation on trainers on one tile. Like if somebody just happens to hit, along the path, and they're going trainer, 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 and they just happen to keep drawing up trainers, that could be, I don't know. The encounter card's not, it's going to be none a lot of times when you're on a path, but it's possible you could hit multiple trainers in a row. Yeah, let's not limit it right now. Let's see. If it breaks, then we'll make adjustments. Okay, so we have, those are exploration cards. It's not exploration cards, they're encounter cards. Let's keep our nomenclatures the same. Let's see, turn actions, these player encounter cards, do the stuff on the card. So, I think the NPC cards, we'll probably have to have like NPCs. This would represent shops, or let's actually not say represent, we'll just say shops or traveling merchants. And then shop NPCs can only be placed on town tiles. My dog's behind me, and she's sitting on the rocking chair. And I guess she adjusted herself, and she it rocked backwards, hit the table behind her, hit the blinds behind that, and startled me, I guess. It's like, how the heck is she making the blinds move? The chair is nowhere near the blinds, but I didn't realize there was a table behind her. Okay, shopping zoom mode placed on town tiles. We got Pokemon Center. We have, what else kind of, I know there's multiple shops. What kind of things can you run into on the game? Gosh, I'm gonna have to talk to my sons. They know those games pretty good. But I know there's more than just Pokemon Centers. There's there's a shop, store, where you can go buy stuff, I guess. And yeah. See, this is why I need more following. I need more people to come and join me, so they can give me feedback, so I could hear the stuff I don't know. Because I don't know a lot. There's a lot of things I don't know about Pokemon, or at least I don't remember, because it's been so long since I played the Game Boy versions. I've never played one of the Switch versions yet. I do like those kind of games. I think they're fun. I used to like one of my favorite versions of this was actually one of the early games they came out with. They actually came out with a trading card game for the Game Boy, and it was fun building your deck and going through there and fighting stuff and using your cards and building your deck. That was good. They never made a second one. I don't know why. It was such a good game. You would have thought they could have added cards, did more graphics. They eventually just decided to go with we don't need it to be cards. We could just make it be Pokemon. But it's not quite the same, right? You can't actually build those decks. I mean, those Pokemon are different. They're gonna You can't say, oh, this game, my team on this game is so good, I'm gonna go try to build it in my TCG cards. You can't do that because it doesn't exist. Other things you need don't exist. Anyway, so there's going to be more, I'm sure. I don't remember what there is, but those are shop NPCs, and other kinds of NPCs can be out in the wild. But we only have NPCs are shops and traveling merchants. Traveling merchants. Trainers can only be placed can you have like just random trainers in town? Sure, why not? They could be hanging out in town just looking to be troublemakers. Why not? I don't think that has to be a limit. Traveling merchants can only be placed on area tiles. Non-town area tiles. How's that? Now we do have the problem if we have too many. We don't want to clutter up our town tiles so that we can't put our NPCs down. Or maybe we have 2 town tiles and we know that it's unlikely that you'll fill it with trainers, but maybe I'm wondering if we should limit the number of trainers that can appear in a town, just so that we don't block all of our shop NPCs, because they can only show up in one area. Or maybe we do our shop NPCs fixed. They're always in town. That might be. Maybe we define if it's a town. Well, yeah, I guess our town, it tells you what type of tile you have to be on, right? So our encounter cards, which I still don't know where that is. Eventually, I might even start remembering where everything shows up. That's game setup. I want to go to the mechanics part here. What can it have? Encounter card. So we have gym, we have traveling merchant, special locations. If tile region is X, tile type, let's say type. Gotta stop saying region. If tile type is X, then place landmark, if any. So that could be a gym, place, X token, or a token corresponding to item, or to NPC / landmark shown. So that could be a gym, it could be a traveling merchant, it could be a trainer. Oh, these are encounters. These are actually, these 2 guys, these are where you put markers. It's a region landmark. If tile type, okay, it could be a gym, could be a store, special location, or shop / other special location. And these guys, so we have region landmarks. So those are going to be things that, right, so this is not NPC. I say you're right. That's me talking to myself. My brain is saying, hey, you can't do that. And I'm saying, you're right. So yeah, I occasionally talk to myself. But it's mostly in my head, so it's not too weird. So I do argue with myself in my head, and so I'm talking out loud, and sometimes I'm actually talking to me, and me is arguing with me. So, but a lot of times the arguments are going on silently in my head. So I say you're right. That's me giving my other side of the other half of my brain the benefit of the doubt, and saying, "Yep, can't do that. Gonna have to change." Now, if somebody was on here and telling me, I might tell them, "You're right." So you'll have to know the context to know whether or not I'm referring who's right. If it's me talking to myself, or if it's a person who happens to be communicating with me on my stream here. All right, so if tile is X, then place corresponding landmark shown. So that'd be a gym, traveling merchant. A shop, it's not really going to be a traveling merchant though, right? I mean, these are encounters. So, but, yeah, it could be a traveling merchant. You know what? So it's not really a landmark. It's like a region. Not region. That's wrong again. Area. Fixed. Or a permanent area. Permanent. Feature. Area permanent feature slash. I don't know. I can counter it BC. These are the things that you would have to put tokens down for. So if it's an area permanent feature or encounter NPC, then you have to put down tokens. So this is kind of a duplication of the rules down below, right? If the tile is X, then place token corresponding to land token, gem traveling from. So the encounter card will identify. So this is me putting the rules. So let's go back here and we'll click Control X, and we're going to go to the end, and we're going to go down here where I have encounter, turn actions. We already say, do the actions identified on the card. If trainer NPC card is placed, set next to the matching token card, doing that. If gem placed or mark, if all area gems are already placed on the marker. So we kind of already have that. But some of the things that it could be, if trainer NPC card, do the marker. If gem marker, that's a kind of a rules for that. Other landmarks, a mark with tokens as well. Let's see what do we do here. So turn actions, you might have, we already did gym, and we already did NPC. NPC. This could be a traveling merchant, store, or trainer. So we have traveling merchant, shop, trainer. Take that out. We already did gym too. Other special landmarks. Other special locations. It's not make, it's mark. Mark. Okay. Alright. Woo, how far have we gone? Oh no, we're over an hour already. Time flies so fast when we're doing this stuff. Okay, so I know streaming can go on for hours. I know I've seen people playing games, but who wants to look at a person type for an hour? Especially if you're taking in small chunks. I think an hour at a time is plenty. If I'm wrong and you don't mind a longer game design session, say so. Tell me on my my chat. Say, hey, this is kind of cool. I was just getting into it. Or say, hey, this is really kind of long and drawn out. Do this, make it better, make it interesting, or cut it down to a shorter time length so I can do it in smaller pieces. Now, it's hard to do these in shorter pieces. Maybe in that scenario, you just have to, you know, stop the recording and come back later if you care. But in the meantime, I would say, yeah, leave me chat, leave me any kind of text messages on my channel or on the video, and let me know what you think. If you want to subscribe, that'd be great too. I mean, I don't mind having some subscribers. Uh, if you know better ways to make this more visually appealing, I know doing this hacking it out via typing into OneNote, which is definitely my tool of choice for keeping track of all of my notes and information because it keeps everything together. But if that kind of thing, if you have a better idea for doing that, I'm all ears. So I guess in this case, I'd be all eyes. I'd be ready to read it and take into account what I can. Obviously, I don't want to overcomplicate things. Really, it's just about brainstorming right now. Although we are getting more details, a little less brainstorming, a little more hashing it out. So didn't quite get to the mocking up, but I think we're close. We have to know what we're trying to mock up, right? So as we're doing these rules and writing stuff out, there'll be more, and we'll be doing a lot. We'll be doing more of this this afternoon when I do it again at 4 o'clock. We will definitely. I definitely will make time to start doing some mocking up, and we will see how that goes. Start pulling out my drawing skills, start putting stuff down on paper for what we want this to look like. And maybe I'll do some longer sessions later or additional sessions during the week. Right now, 2 a day is plenty because I've got a lot of other, got to keep, I get to be a house husband. So I'm just trying to get the honey-do list done, lots of little tasks and cleanups and stuff done around the house right now. Been working on my my mini bar, which basically I took the mini bar out. We had a big old bar, like those classic ones you see that go all the way around and place for bottles. I chopped it all the way down to one little nub, but I wanted to, because I wanted to keep the sink, and I don't even know if I'm going to keep that eventually. But right now, I just chopped it all the way down to a little nub. So now I'm trying to shape it out so it can be drywalled off and made to look like it's supposed to be like that. And so that's been one of my things. All kinds of little house tasks. I recently put molding in upstairs, and that's been one of those things that's been sitting around for years. And we had to redo our kitchen because we had flooding this summer, so that all got redone. And so I did a lot of the work, pulled up the floor, put in the flooring that was replacing it. I customized a little section of the counters that was just a blank spacer. I turned it into a thin cupboard. And so a lot of little things that I've been doing this summer. So knocking them off, check, 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 check. But my list of to-dos is getting longer instead of shorter. I check things off and add 3 more. So I can't do this too many times during the day or I'll never get anything done. So that's it for today. For this session, I'll schedule another stream for this afternoon. I'm thinking 4 o'clock again. Might be 4:30. If it gets too late, then you can get into the evening where I'm trying to do other stuff too. But right now, I'm going to shoot for, let's do 4 o'clock. Yeah, I'll just commit. Say 4 o'clock, and we'll do it again. Thanks for joining me, or thanks for checking this out, since not very many people actually join.